Welcome to the Get Real Podcast, your high-octane boost of full-on reality therapy for personal, business, and investing success with your host, Ron Phillips, because somebody's got to tell it like it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Get Real Podcast. Ron Phillips here with Brendan Seiber. Welcome to the show, Brendan.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on again. Excited to get into it.
Yeah, so I've been talking about the market, and as you all know, as you've been listening, there's been a lot that we've been talking about in the news. And what I wanted to do today is just, and the reason I invited Brendan on was I wanted to go through what does the reality of everything that we've been talking about look like in the form of actual people actually buying property right now in the market, so that you guys can get a kind of a picture of everything I've been talking about put into practice. And so that's why Brendan is here, because we've been talking about internally in the company, the success that we've been having, helping people grow their portfolios, especially right now in the midst of all of this press that discusses real estate as in a whole different light, depending on which article you're reading. It's just very confusing to people. So Brendan, let's talk through generally speaking, some of the things that we've been talking about on the show are refinances, 1031 exchanges, and how those things go into portfolio growth. And let's go through, I think you've got an actual, we're not going to name any names, but you've got an actual plan that has been put into place. Well, it's not put in place, it's actually done now. And what the result of that is for that individual, so that people can get an idea of what this is. Let's start with cash out refinance. I know this is something that people don't think they can do right now. How are we able to make a cash out refinance work when people have, a 4% interest rate on their typical loan?
Yeah. So that's one of the things we've been doing a lot, with our clients on the sales team in the company is working refinances that a lot of people just right now with 4%, even 5% mortgage rates, they think that they'd just be putting themselves in a bad spot if they were to pull it out, try to access their cash. But the really cool thing that's gotten way more affordable lately than it was in years past is, debt service coverage ratio loans for both purchases and refinances that allow us to get access to loan terms that were traditionally reserved for commercial properties, so that you could cash flow or hemorrhage a little bit less with an interest-only loan while you stabilized it. We can now offer those kinds of refinances on stabilized, performing single-family homes at pretty competitive rates. So one of the things that people often overlook is that going from a full AM to an interest-only loan, the rates could be about 1.5% different, and the mortgage rate is plus or minus $10 in either direction. And if you account for the fact that you're re-amortizing the loan that they've probably paid down a little bit, the actual cash you're pulling out is saving them money on, paying off that original note. So.
Yeah. And I think it's, again, the media just, their job in every single aspect of their reporting, no matter what they're reporting on. And we're not going to dive into that today. I'll go off on some kind of a tangent, and it will probably not be good, but they report negative news. Negative news gets clicks. Negative news gets headlines. And even in the same articles, I have a feed that comes in every day from, I think it's from Grok AI, and it delivers information on the real estate market, on debt service coverage ratio loans, and things like that. And literally, it'll pull in articles that the headlines contradict themselves on the exact same topic. So one will say debt service coverage ratio loans, the rates have dropped to 7.5. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, I don't know where they're getting those rates. Ours are way lower than that at par. Like they don't even, I mean, and then I'll have the two articles down. I'll have another one that says debt service coverage ratio rates rise to like 7 and 7.4 or whatever. And neither one of them are accurate because the rates are lower than that. At least our rates are lower than that. And I know we have better rates than nearly everybody in the country, but still, they're not. They shouldn't be a point different or a point and a half different, and yet they are based on these articles. So it's no wonder people are confused about where interest rates are. Every single article reports things different. In addition to that, I don't think people even realize the different types of loan product that they can use to be able to do this. And I think that's one of the things we do really well is help people plan. So let's talk through like this plan of this guy who had a ton of equity in his property and wanted to do something with it. And like, what did we help him do specifically? And then what does that turn into long term?
Yeah. And I think that's a great, great point too about the information that's out there. I mean, whether it's sharing things in a negative light or a positive light about interest rates dropping and what's to come, it kind of puts people in this weird period where they're not making decisions. And granted, not everybody needs to refinance or reposition equity. If you're cash flowing and you're sustaining your lifestyle, probably don't need to switch to an interest only loan. It's just, not necessary. Start paying off the debt if you're already there. But for a lot of people, it just allows you to jumpstart your portfolio and get to those longer term financial goals a lot quicker than if you were trying to time market perfectly, whether it's pricing or interest rates. The fact is refinancing into a debt service coverage ratio loan works right now. So for that client that Ron was mentioning, I've got some figures here. He purchased a property for about $150. I think it was in 2020. So he's been paying based on a $120,000 note. So his mortgage payment, just principal and interest, has been about $608. I think he's paid down a little bit extra. He's put some extra money towards principal. So he's only got $100,000 on his, or he had $100,000 remaining on his balance. So he's doing good stuff, using the excess cash flow to just build some equity. But he's been waiting, trying to see if interest rates drop similar to where his note is. And obviously, since 2020 and just about everywhere in the country, home prices have skyrocketed. So he happened to purchase in an area that's done really well. And, his property, if, he turned it, he could probably sell for upper 200s, appreciated really well the past, 5-6 years. So looking at doing a cash out refinance, I kind of broke it down into two sections. One is paying off his original note. How much does that cost with an interest only loan? And then what does he actually get to reinvest? So we looked at putting a $200,000 debt service coverage mortgage on the property. So the first $100,000 actually cost him about $541 a month. So his mortgage payment, refinancing, even if he pulled out no cash, would have given him about $70 of extra cash flow a month with interest rates that are nearly a 1.5 higher than where he was locked. On the next $100,000, obviously same cost, $541 a month, but he's able to pull out $100,000 and reinvest into very similar properties as the first one he bought, albeit in a different market where you can still get properties for $150,000 that perform well. But he's able to pick up about $400,000 of additional assets, purchase value, and pick up another $830 of monthly cash flow, assuming a pretty conservative, rate of return at 10% after all of his fixed expenses. So through this equity reposition, he's saved some money on his original note. He's picked up $230 of net new cash flow, and he's now got appreciation across 500 or 600 and some $1,000 of real estate instead of just $250,000 of real estate. So you look at the change that makes in the short term, not a huge difference. $200 doesn't change anybody's life, overnight. But the fact that he pulled off this equity reposition, you fast forward another 5 years, even if he doesn't do anything else, with real estate, he spends the cash flow, he doesn't add any more savings to the machine. He has the potential to do this again with 5 assets. And the multiplicative effect of that is just a massively different, trajectory for him and his family. So it's really cool to kind of, go a step behind all the headlines and just let the math, make the decision for people. So really cool to get to work through that. We probably went 12 months, 18 months of my time at the company without touching a refinance. And, they've probably been a third of the business that I've helped clients get into new properties lately. So it's been really exciting to start making those work again.
Buying real estate and holding it long term, the assets are supposed to breed new assets. They're supposed to make it so that you don't have to pull more money out of your pocket to buy new assets. That's not to say that you shouldn't be buying assets with your additional cash. You should be doing that. In addition to these assets, however many of them you're able to purchase, those should all afford you 1 or 2 more every 5 to 7 years, depending on what the market does. And so what we think is normal, Brendan, I think the rest of the country and a lot of the listeners probably don't realize that's what's supposed to happen, because again, most people only look at their cash flow. They don't look at what's actually happening with their properties. These properties are in the current loan structure. There's the principal is being paid down. Appreciation has been insane over the last many years. And some of the people, like, you may be listening to this and thinking, well, I bought 10 years ago. I wonder what my equity position is. It will be insane if you bought 10 years ago. What Brendan was talking about is somebody who bought 5 years ago. Imagine what 10 years has done. You have that asset value that's sitting there. It's unrealized gains. And when you do a cash out refinance, that is not a taxable event. It's money that you can put into more assets that would grow your portfolio. And the reason for the growth of the portfolio, what Brendan was just saying, is that now you have 5 assets out there instead of 1 doing the same thing that the 1 did. It's pretty remarkable what has happened. And in one of our recent, I think, classes that we had online, we talked about one of the clients that you're helping that has been doing this for years now. I can't remember how long. No, I can't. I met them in 2007. So it's what's the math on that? Like it's a long time. Good Lord, that's like 18 years. They've repositioned now 3 or 4 times, and they're in the midst of another one. Their portfolio has grown from, a small amount of properties in the beginning to what will be, I don't know, it's millions of dollars. I can't remember exactly how many millions, but it's millions of dollars of real estate and cash flow that retires one of them. I mean, it's just 18 years of just doing the same thing Brendan just talked about. It's pretty remarkable, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really cool to work with them and see their progression, because obviously, we've got a pretty unique model, but it's not the only way to invest in real estate. And it kind of speaks to the seasons of it. Interest only loans, look down upon in some ways because you give up one of the 4 pillars of real estate. So, that was one of the discussions I had with those clients, actually is giving up that pillar worthwhile in my specific situation? And in a lot of cases, it is. And what I like to point out is kind of like you mentioned, the unrealized gains. That's essentially what principal reduction is it's forcing you to have a savings account in your property that doesn't hedge against inflation. That aspect of it doesn't. It just sits without earning you any additional income. It doesn't make the property appreciate any better. It's just tied up until you have enough equity to do a cash out refinance or you sell the property. The really cool thing with interest only loans, especially if you're retaining property for 7 years or so, is you just get that as actual cash that you can reinvest into your money market account while you're building up funds again. You can redeploy into the next property that much quicker with excess, and it just becomes far more accessible so that you can start that snowball effect. And that was one of the things that kind of made the decision in that exchange is going interest only. It was the difference between being able to buy this, I think it's close to $6 million of real estate with 20% down payments as to 25% down payments. So it reaches the cash flow goals, come December to retire one of them, and lets them make that huge life move now, so that 5 years down the line, once they build a little bit of equity, maybe, they time it with rates, then they can refinance into full AB loans, but their retirement income, is still taken care of. So really cool to just be able to, have that flexibility based on your specific situation. And for a long time, we didn't have that.
Yeah. And Brendan, we've talked about like two different people. One of the really cool things, I think, if, for everybody who's listening, your unique scenario is different. And the cool thing that I think we're able to do, and what I hope you gained from listening to Brendan talk about two different people today, is we have the tools to be able to help with whatever the situation is, and we have enough experience to be able to utilize those tools in the right way to be able to help people understand, like you specifically, what you can do with your real estate portfolio. And if you want some help just to understand what the heck you've got, reach out to us. You can reach us at invest@rpcinvest.com. And again, if you have ideas for the show, let us know. We're happy to. We read all those emails, and if you send us some ideas, some things that you want to learn about, we're happy to put them in the show. And I don't ask very often, but occasionally I remind you guys, look, if you've been listening to the show, you like the show, you like the content, and it would be super helpful if you got onto your favorite podcast platform and left us a written review. Actually go in there and give us whatever star rating you want. But then in addition to that, actually give us a written review. Those written reviews help way more than you might think. And if you like the show, that's one of the coolest things you can do. And then, of course, tell all your friends about us. Don't keep us a secret. And we appreciate you guys. Until next time, get out there and make something happen.
This has been the Get Real Podcast. To subscribe and for more information, including a list of all episodes, go to getrealestatesuccess.com.